They say I might as well face the truth.
Hello and welcome to Game of Moans, where we are looking back on Game of Thrones an episode at a time. This week we are into episode 1.6. I am Chris Bolton. With me as always the mountain Mr. Mark Williams.
Hello.
And yeah, season 1, episode 6. Here we go. Look, front and center before we get into this episode. I know this is called Game of Moans, and I do have one very specific thing to moan about in this episode. But in general, look, I'm putting it out there. This is written by one of my favorite writers working in the industry today. Somebody I actually greatly admire as a writer. So yeah, I'm not going to have too much to moan about. This is Jane Spenson's episode, so yes. I'm pretty much just going to sit here and fanboy for the next hour or so.
Oh, this will go well.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be complaining about shit. What I'm actually going to be doing is pointing out how much better this episode is than everything that's gone before it, and point out some of the flaws in just the general storytelling that's happened so far that I think is done well here. Now, having said all of that, as I said, very, very biased here. So I'm aware of that.
I had the same thought, although I will say this episode did seem to move a little better than the ones we've had the last couple of weeks.
God, this episode is structurally the best episode of the show yet. One of the best. Even on my first time viewing, I remember this standing out. Every single scene here has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
They build to nice crescendos. It's full of character work. The dialogue is off the chart in this episode. It is so much better than what it's been previously.
Yeah, and it has the best death scene so far, I think.
Easily the best death scene so far. Just easily lots of my favourite scenes so far, if I'm perfectly honest. Look, Jane Spenson is just a wonderful, wonderful writer. As I said, I'd go as far as to call her a writing hero of mine. She has written many of my favourite episodes of Buffy, which automatically gets her a pass for anything ever. And that's without even going on to a work on Firefly, Angel, Battlestar, which I'm not actually... I'm late to the party on Battlestar, so I'm not up to her episodes yet to know how good they are, but I am very familiar with her work in the Whedonverse, both in comics and on TV, and yeah, I just love this lady to death. So, yeah, okay, that said... You know what you're in for, all right? So...
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I was surprised to read today this is the only episode she was involved in. I thought there was, given her sort of stature in the industry, given how much work she does on pretty much any fucking thing that gives her, because work is work. I was surprised they didn't bring her back. I mean, it was one of the better episodes, certainly of this season, I thought, in terms of the writing and the pacing and stuff.
They did want her back. They did want her back. They did actually go after her for season 2. As I said, Jane Spencer's a lady who I follow, so and I don't just mean on Twitter. I do follow
with
her
the binoculars in the bushes and shit.
Yeah, and not in the bushes and stuff either. No, I do follow her career. She was, at the time season 2 was kicking around, she was actually writing and producing on Torchwood.
Oh, yes, of course.
She took the higher stature job there as opposed to coming back for season 2. But I know she was approached.
Right.
It is a crying shame that she didn't take this job instead. I think not a fan of Doctor Who or Torchwood or any of its numerous spin-offs. So...
to be fair, the season she did it with, I think she was one of the EPs on it as well. It was the first 2 seasons of Torchwood were very silly. They were very sort of Doctor Who-esque, but trying to be a bit more adult. And then they did 2 event seasons, one which was a 5-episode event for season 3 and a 10-episode arc for season 4. I think it's the season 4 when she did, and it was absolutely phenomenal as a sort of short series. It just had the baggage of being the John Barrowman vehicle, which didn't help.
Yeah, I don't know what season number it was. I just know it was Miracle Day.
Yeah, season 4. It was a very good season, and you could tell. I mean, they gave it an American treatment. So all of a sudden, instead of being a typical BBC drama whereby it's one and done, or you maybe get 2 episodes that are together, and it's very friendly, it's very fun. There's a bit of edge to it, but it's okay. And then all of a sudden they did Children of Earth, which was a bit more sinister. That was the 5-part, and then season 4, Miracle Day, was basically it was a 10-part miniseries in which all fucking hell broke loose. But it was produced like an American show. It jumped all over the place. It had locations all over the world. It had far more characters than it usually had, and far more feeling to it than you generally got as well. So it was a very good vehicle for a mediocre show.
Mm-hmm. I just got to take your word on that, because as I say, no interest in it whatsoever, even with it having been written by Jane Spencer. In fact, I think it's probably the only thing that she's been involved with that I've not dipped into in some way or other. I did start watching Once Upon a Time even, but just ended up dropping off it because there are too many TV shows out there. So, yeah, I think Torchwood's the only thing that I haven't watched. But anyway, this isn't a Torchwood podcast. This is a Game of Thrones podcast, and we're talking about Season 1, Episode 6, A Golden Crown. My first note, actually, incidentally, just literally says, written by Jane fucking Espenson. Fuck yeah. In big capital letters. I think that tells you all you need to know about this episode, really.
To be fair, so no, you do have a certain bias in favour of the lady, but I don't think it's unjust, and I don't think that in terms of this episode compared with what's come before it and what's going to come in the rest of the season, I don't think it's unfair to say this is probably the best written episode, certainly the first season, and possibly of the next of 2 or 3.
I would say that from memory. Obviously, this is my first rewatch of the show, so it may be that as we go through, some of these other episodes stand out to me more. This is certainly the best written episode that we've had to date. And a big part of that is down to Jane Spencer's just knack for narrative structure. It is what it is. You know, she's an absolute whiz with dialogue, but more than anything, she really has a knack for drama and narrative structure, and that shows, like I said, it's in every scene here. Every scene has a perfect beginning, middle, and end, and a crescendo. Like, everything's focused, everyone's talking like normal people, which helps a lot.
Yes, it does.
There is no fucking massive lectures and exposition woven into dialogue, because, like, why do we need that? You know? Anyway, we'll get into some of that stuff as we go through, but straight in, first scene, my first note is just about Cersei, just straight in there to Ned. Do you know what your wife has done? No fucking around.
I quite like this as an opening, actually.
It's great.
I mean, you get into it and you get sort of Ned comes around as it starts quite gently. You're in this, they're in his bedroom. He sort of wakes up, and then his sort of eyes sort of slowly come to focus, and the first thing he sees is fucking Cersei glowering at him.
Now, again, let's just take pause here for a moment, talking about narrative structure and talking about the craft of writing, which I think we're probably going to do a lot in this episode, to be honest. Here's your prime example. Like, always throw your audience in at the deep end. Like, never, ever go for a slow, meandering open. No, throw him straight in at the deep end. Like you say, element of risk immediately, straight away. He comes to, there's Cersei. He's in danger immediately. And we are grabbed as an audience.
Yeah, and then obviously, it moves over, and then you see Robert's there as well, so the threat passes fairly quickly. Also, we think, because obviously nothing's going to happen while Robert's there. And then he comes to, you get a nice little joke, again, cements that sort of, that jokey, familiar relationship that they have straight away. I would stand up, but because obviously been speed and leg in the last week, so you get that straight away. And then without any chance for him to sort of catch his breath, Cersei's immediately on, do you know what your wife has done?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, shit, right, yeah, okay, I better deal with this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I do find it quite interesting, and obviously, for the time it was as well, and it's portrayed it being, and the fact that he said to Jamie last week, and it's the first thing he says to Cersei this week, Kat's not done anything I didn't command her to do. I don't remember him telling her to go kidnap Tyrion, I've got to be honest.
No, he didn't. He is just defending his wife.
Right, he's like, okay, well, we're a team, we're a partnership, so whatever she has done, I have done, and whatever I have done, she has done, because that's how we work. That's a marriage, that's a family, that's all the rest of it.
I think it's more punish me, not her.
Yeah, it is. It's that sort of it's whatever she does, because she is part of my family.
Yes, you take out on me.
Yeah, whatever my kids do, it's my fault. Whatever my wife does, it's my fault. Nothing is anybody's fault but my own, because if they've done it, it means I failed them as a father, as a husband. I have failed as a person. Therefore, I say, punish me.
Yes, he is just protecting her, essentially. From what he knows is coming. I mean, Cersei then proceeds to reframe the entire scenario, just as we've seen her do with
Yes.
the direwolf attack earlier in the season. And she's just fucking wonderful at it. It just completely reframes the whole scenario to somehow make Ned the guilty party. And she does it masterfully.
Yeah, she does. And to a point where you can even see that Ned knows she's doing it, Robert knows she's doing it, but she doesn't give a fuck. She's like, no, this is what happened. This is what the world will know what happened, because I will fucking tell every single person on this planet, if I have to, that you attacked my brother and kidnapped the other one because you were drunk coming out of a whorehouse and picked a fight. And that is what people need to know.
Yeah. And then for her trouble, she gets a fucking slap and a half.
She does. No, we have an issue with our TV whereby... I don't know why, but dialogue is very quiet and music and sound effects are very loud. I've tried all the different settings. I've tried all the fucking about with that. Cannot get it to sit right. So I had this on whatever day it was, and so the kids were in bed asleep. Tori was doing something on her iPad, and I swear to God, the house shook.
Yeah, it's such a belter.
Such a belt. And then today I watched it back again because I'd missed a few bits. So I had my headphones on lunchtime, and again my ears were fucking ringing.
It's a belter, and it's shocking. And it really shouldn't be by this point, because we know what kind of man Robert is, and we know what their relationship is like.
Yeah,
but it is shocking. And again, just masterful work with Cersei here, and this is where the dialogue really starts to shine compared to what it has been. Cersei takes the belt, barely even flinches, to be fair. She does turn her face away, but she turns straight back to him and says, I'll wear it with honor, or I'll wear it with pride, something like that.
Like a badge of honor.
That's it, I'll wear it like a badge of honor. And his response is, you will wear it in silence, or I'll honor you again.
Yes.
That is how you write dialogue, people. That you don't need to specifically say, shut your whole mouth or I'll hit you in the face, which is previously how this scene would have been written in this show. This show is that direct. No, you don't need that.
No, and you do get it before that. I mean, when Cersei and Ned are bickering, and he tells them both to shut their mouths. So you kind of get the feeling he's going to go the same way as he always goes. Is, no, shut up, woman, quiet, woman. You're not important. Shut the fuck up. But it's just he has to tell Ned to shut up as well. But then as you go from that into this glorious exchange between the two of them, where it's like, no, as I said, no, they play on each other's words. Totally. And you don't see that enough in this show.
No, and that veiled threat from him is so much more menacing and so much more just than flat out just name calling. Which is right. Previously what I strongly believe that is previously what we would have had.
Yes,
this is so much better than that.
It is better than that. I've got to be honest. I don't generally like Mark Addy. I don't think I've seen anything in where I'd say he's amazing. But there's certain scenes in this show. I mean, we've had two of the three probably best ones already. But in this one, he actually turned around a scene which isn't very good for him. And he turned in an okay performance, mainly because the dialogue was actually strong enough to make you think, okay, he's not just a braggart, he's not just a bully, he's actually a person, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows that what he has actually said isn't right. He knows that what he's done isn't right, and he will probably regret it at some point. He's self-aware, and you don't see enough of that of him in this show.
No, and he does play it like that as well. You just need to give these people the material, as we've seen with Sean Bean. Early on in the show, and it's getting steadily worse because the material for him is getting steadily worse.
Yes.
But you give these two the material, and they, just like they did last week as well, they will smash it out of the park. The end of this scene is phenomenal on both counts, both, as you say, from Mark Addy's regret at having done what he's done, which is instant, and it's written all over his face, but he knows he had to do it, and he is commanding in doing so. There are a few moments in this episode where he is genuinely commanding as a king, this being one of them. He regrets what he's done, but he knows he has to do it to save face and to basically put both Cersei and Ned in their place. Yeah. So it's good for him, and it's good for her in as much as, she's taken the beating, but she hasn't just taken it quietly, like some sort of meek and mild housewife, she is defiant about it. She is.
Yeah, that's right.
She is more or less saying, "Come on, hit me again. I dare you."
And even before he slaps her, I mean, she's chiding Ned, and he's trying to keep the peace. He's trying to calm us, and she says, "I should wear the armor, and you should wear the gown."
Yeah,
and that's what prompts him to slap her. But again, it's so perfectly captures her character.
Yes, yeah,
because this is who we've seen bits of her doing this sort of stuff already, and so the little sniping and the backbiting and the snipe comments. And no way, we had the scene with Joffrey where she's reframing the whole thing that you fought off the direwolf and you were attacked by people with sticks and you couldn't do or whatever it was. And so we've seen bits of that, but also her to be openly doing it, not just to Robert, but in front of Ned as well.
Yeah,
it sets up what's been alluded to, but it hasn't really been done properly yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good starting point for her character, where from here she will move on quite well and quite quickly.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. This episode especially really, we've talked about the genesis of the characters that we know before, but this episode really puts a rocket. I think after last week's kind of meandering, going nowhere episode, this one really puts a rocket up the backside of many of these characters. We just moving through the scene, then Cersei leaves, and all of a sudden Robert wants Ned to stay again. I mean, he needs to make his fucking mind up.
It was treason last week, wasn't it?
Now he wants him to stay again, but I have written here, like, to be fair, the point where he tosses the badge back at him and his orders to Ned as he leaves are very authoritative. And again, he has a real commanding presence here for a moment. And maybe
he does, but
maybe that's Robert that won the war. I think
Yeah, there are two parts to him in this scene, because you get him where he is very authoritative, where he is very commanding, and to use his own word, kingly. But then you also get this very human side to him, where he regrets hitting Cersei. He knows the situation he's in. He knows Jaime Lannisters are false, but he can't do anything about it because he's trapped by the fact he owes Tywin fuckloads of money.
Yeah.
And so we get that side, and then it lapses back into almost he chucks the badge and says, "No, I'll talk to you after the hunt. You're going to sit on the throne while I'm gone. You'll hate it as much as I do."
Yeah.
And again, it just he doesn't like being king. He's done this bit now where he's just fed up, and he just appears to be so broken and tired of life at this point.
Yeah.
And then he picks his authority back up and says, "Put it back on. If you take the damn thing off again, I'll put it on Jaime."
Yeah.
And again, it's just it's a command. You will put it back on. You will stay in King's Landing, and if you fuck about again, then I'm going to have your head.
Yeah, and I feel anyway that he is commanding respect as he leaves there, and Ned gives it to him. That is an authoritative leader as he walks out.
He's finally acting like a king.
Yes, absolutely. This is a king that we're seeing now.
Yeah, and we've not seen him as a king.
No.
In the 5 episodes previous.
No, we've seen him as a sort of oafish sort of figure of fun almost.
Yeah, he's a jolly fat man, and then he's a bully.
Yeah,
and we've not seen anything different.
But this year, in this scene, this is a king. So anyway, moving on. Otherwise, I could talk about this scene all night. As I say, I think it's wonderful. But moving on, Dany decides to try and make an omelette. Somebody,
really fucking badly.
Yeah, somebody should really tell them to crack the fucking eggs first. Yeah, but it's a nice scene. It's just a little callback to a couple of episodes ago where we find out that Dany doesn't burn. But that was, if you're watching this on a weekly basis, that was a couple of weeks ago. You may have forgotten. So, again, the craft of writing, folks. Here's just a little reminder. Here's just some foreshadowing, which would wash totally over you on the first viewing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But here it is. Here's something that's going to be very important later on, and swear to God, you would not know on a first viewing. It's very subtle and very definitely handled.
Means absolutely nothing. There are 2 points in this episode involving those eggs, which are crucially important.
Yeah.
But on first watch, you will not notice they're even there.
No. But there
will be absolutely nothing.
This is handled beautifully. Just obviously, the what is she? Her handmaiden, I guess.
Yeah, she's one of her many slaves, I guess.
And grabs the egg and burns her hands, whereas Dany's not even burned at all. So we find out that she cannot burn. essentially. And then just moving on quickly, because as I say, it seems like a nothing scene. It won't be. It will become important later on. Moving on, and look how happy Hodor is coming in with Bran's saddle. Bless him.
Yes.
this scene just made me smile. He comes in with this huge grin on his face, bearing the saddle.
Yeah.
Bless him.
And I mean, before that, so you get the same scene as we had before with Three-Eyed Raven, where Bran's following it. So he's practicing his archery and he follows it through. And this time we see it go a little bit further. We see it go down into the sort of crypt, don't we?
Yeah.
I don't think he follows, but it's where it's going to lead him. And I think in future episodes we'll also see that kind of happen again. But again, just a nice bit of repetition from previous, where you get Three-Eyed Raven and you kind of think, right, where is this going? There's something about this.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's building to something. It's harking back to something we've already seen, but there's obviously a point to it.
Yeah.
And at this point, you've got no reason to doubt there is a point to things that are going to happen, because they wouldn't have bothered writing it and filming it if it didn't mean anything.
No, exactly.
And then, as you said, no, that's interrupted by Hodor coming in with the biggest fucking grin you've ever seen.
It's just
mainly because
so
he's the biggest person you've ever seen.
It's so sweet. He just comes in brandishing this fucking saddle out in front of him with this huge shit-eating grin on his face.
Yeah,
it's great. I love it.
Yeah. And then little emo Bran from last week, he's gone, and he has a big childish innocent smile as well.
Absolutely. And then we move on, and this scene now is a prime example, and there will be many of them, but a prime example of what I was talking about back at the start, just the way these scenes, the narrative structure in them, and the way the tension builds throughout. This isn't the best example of it, but it's a very good one. We get this conversation between Theon and Rob, where Theon's just trying to twist his ear a little bit, like a sniveling little cockwomble that he is.
And again, it's like he did. Like there was a scene in episode 2, I think it was, where they're all out in the woods, and they're talking about the fact that there's this person that attacked Bran, and he's trying to incite a war. He's trying to incite violence, and it doesn't go anywhere because they shut him down very quickly. And then again, because the older and cooler heads aren't there to prevail, he's in Rob's ear.
Yeah.
They've started the war. They attacked your father. They did this. You need to act because your father. It makes your father look like a pussy. The fact that he got done in the street.
Yeah.
And Rob's response was absolutely perfect, because again, like we were talking about last week, and like we'll talk about later on in this episode as well. Nobody gives him the time of day because he's not important. No. He just thinks he is.
Yeah, exactly.
And straight away, it's not your place. It's not your house.
Which, you can understand Theon taking umbrage to that, but it's his own fault. He brought it on himself. He's a snivelling little cockwomble. However, regardless of whether your fucking feelings are hurt or not, when we then get to the end of the scene and Bran is missing, his response is absolutely out of order, and once again shows him to be the absolute biggest. Here we go. I'm going to break the seal. Biggest cunt in this entire show.
That's one. I'm counting this week. That's one.
So, Bran's gone missing. Rob's clearly panicked, says, "Where's Bran?" Theon's response, "Don't know. It's not my house."
Yeah, what a prick.
Get to fuck. Fuck the fuck off. There's a little boy missing in the wild. Just fucking grow a pair and go looking for him. Put whatever childish shit you've got behind you and get on with it, you absolute little wanker. I hate Theon Greyjoy so much. Anyway, moving on swiftly, we encounter wildlings for, I think, is this the first time?
Yeah, first time.
Yeah, I thought it was.
First time,
we see them briefly, don't we, back at episode 1, I think. No, we don't.
I don't think we do. I think it's the very first introduction of, and also it's the first mention of Mance Rayder.
Yes, it is.
Mance Rayder, can't remember. It's the first mention of him as well. Obviously, he'll become important later on as well. But again, we get talk of they're now south of the wall. They're not going back north. They're going as far south as south goes, because there are no White Walkers there. Finally, somebody's mentioned the fucking White Walkers.
Yeah, after 6 fucking episodes. 6
Yeah,
episodes.
all of a sudden people are taking them seriously.
Yeah. So they have a bit of fun with Bran. They're obviously going to try and rob him blind, especially when they realise that he's a cripple. And then Rob's entrance here is fucking awesome. He gets a full-on, boots hit the ground, Dutch pan, low angle up. He's a fucking superhero here. It's incredible.
No, this is probably the only scene where Rob is actually fucking useful in this entire show.
Is fucking badass here, and it's all to do with the way his entrance is framed. It really is.
Yeah.
He's fucking. This is like hats off to the director here. That is fucking awesome. And just as he's being awesome and taking everyone out, what does Theon do? Theon shoots a man in the fucking back. In the back.
Yeah, and narrowly missing Bran's fucking head as well.
Now look, I get it. Bran's in danger here, and Rob's not going to get to him in time. They haven't got guns or anything. I get it, but Theon has his bow raised and primed and on the guy. All he had to do was call him out. He did not have to shoot him in the back. That is a dick move.
It is a dick move, and again, it goes to the kind of the shock factor the show is always trying to go for. You've got this. There's a very tense close up of Rob and a very tense close up of the guy who's holding Bran, whose name I can't fucking think of for the life of me. Not the character, the actor. I recognise his face. I can't think of who he is. So you get these alternating close ups, and all of a sudden you get this. The snap of the bow. And the sort of the rushing noise, and then hits him. His face his jaw drops, his face goes up, and then you see the arrow poking out of his chest, and he drops Bran and falls down dead. And then, as you say, you see Theon, bow drawn, directly fucking behind him from about 10 feet.
Snivelling little cowardly prick.
Yeah. Now from that close, I'm not being funny, but got behind you, just twatted him with the bow.
I fucking hate Theon Greyjoy. Let's move on. We get a scene with.
Although to be fair, Rob's response is, "What the fuck
Rob
were you
calls
thinking?"
Him out, flat out, calls him out.
That's true. Like, you could have killed. If you'd missed, you'd have killed Bran. And Theon's response is, "If I hadn't, he'd have killed your brother and he'd have killed you. You're welcome." So no.
Yeah.
You put everybody in danger by being a fucking coward and staying out of the fight.
Yeah. I mean, it is very much played for and got with Theon at this point. Like, everyone knows he's a complete cock. And they call him out on it now, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I realise that most of the time during these early seasons, I hate him because I'm supposed to hate him. So that's fine. It's when we get to later seasons and I hate him just because I fucking hate him, because I've spent so much time hating him in these earlier seasons. They did their job so fucking well that there is no redemption arc you can send this motherfucker on that is going to convince me that he isn't a complete and utter cockwomble. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to his quote unquote arc as we go through and later on, and obviously they build to a certain point, and there's a certain action, or there are certain actions in later seasons which are supposed to sort of redeem him. Doesn't fucking work, because all he is doing is preserving himself.
Yeah, all the way through. Even he never redeems himself in my eyes.
No, even at this point where he's supposed to be redeeming himself by helping people, he's helping people and himself at the same time. If he doesn't do it, he suffers.
He's a bell end. I hate him. Let's move on before I
get really
annoyed. So we move on to this scene with Theon and Maud, which is fucking hilarious. And
it is.
This has to be intentional, right? Because I can't make my mind up whether it is being played this way or whether it's unintentionally hilarious. But Maud is like something from fucking Life of Brian or something.
Yeah, I mean, the way they've set him up, it's a really minor detail, but it looks. If you catch it, it's then really unmissable. He's got this scar, which basically runs from the center of the top of his head, down past his nose and over his cheek, almost as if he's been cleaved across the head. He's had some massive head injury, and now he's just a little bit backward.
But the whole dialogue and performance and his physicality and the way he moves, he is like, and I think we said this last week as well, he is like something from Monty Python, and especially when you get his dialogue and his delivery and he comes in and he's just going, now gold,
yeah,
fuck off.
Yeah, Dorfer, make noise again. Fuck off.
Hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, and I have to believe it's played for.
It's got to be played for. It's got because it's it's the opposite of anybody you ever see Tyrion with.
Yeah.
He's never generally in a place where he's generally smarter than everybody else, but he's never in a place where the person is so fucking inept they don't even realise how smart he is. or that he's trying to be
well,
clever.
we get a great example of it, two great examples of that in this episode shortly. Some of the best
Yeah.
Tyrion stuff yet, if I'm honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Some really, really good stuff. But I guess we'll get to that when we get to it, because moving on from here now, it's fucking Inigo Montoya again in the next scene. Look, any time we get Cyril Farrell is a good time. It really is. But I have to say, watching it this time, and I thought it first time out as well, but especially watching it back this time now, like, if you're going to write this character, why didn't you just approach Mandy Patinkin? Like, what was he doing at this point, really? I mean, I guess was Homeland on yet? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think this was the season before.
So
I think, wasn't
why
it?
didn't you just get Mandy Patinkin? Like, just don't get somebody doing an impersonation. Just
because that would have been stunt casting, and they don't do that on this show. Obviously,
no, but I mean, come on, you buy instant love from so many people just by doing that. But I mean, okay, I guess the baggage comes with it as well. But look, this guy is Inigo Montoya.
He is.
Don't try and hide it. We all know what you're doing. So just do it. Just fucking lean hard into it. Just go for it. But anyway, love him. But it is just Inigo Montoya. It really is.
It is, and I mean, I quite like the scene. I mean, it's nice to see Arya's of development, and the fact that not from a character point of view, but from a physical point of view, where she's getting better and she can catch the sword, she can actually defend herself to a point. And okay, he's an expert swordsman. That's why he's there. So obviously he's going to be able to disarm her quite easily. But she can hold her own for an over. She will get a few lunges, and she can put him on the back foot once or twice. So it's nice to see that, because where her character is going to go at this point. As a first-time watcher, we don't know. She's a little girl playing with a sword. We don't really know what's going to happen. Obviously, going way, way, way in the future and sort of seeing how her story goes and where she ends up. It's very important, this early development.
This scene especially, this will pay off in 8 years.
Yes, it will. Yeah. Again, even with a callback to the line.
Yeah, specifically with a callback line. That is, of all of season 8, that, and I have huge issues with where that episode specifically goes. But through all of season 8, the repetition and the callback to this line was just the absolute. That was a Goose Pimples punch the air moment for me. That was exceptionally well handled. And as we said when we first started this podcast, all of that stuff starts here. Whether you like it or not, the things you dislike start here, but also the things you like start here. And this is one of those things. Calling back to this in 8 years' time is fucking incredible.
It is, and it's the sort of thing as well, because it's so innocuous in itself.
Yes, again, it's one of those, like we said, the thing with Dany with the eggs, it would wash straight over you. You could, because you believe that Cyril Farrell will just throw that line out because of the way he speaks. It's not unlike him to turn around and come out with something like, "What do we say to death? Not today." That's not unlike him at all. So it just you remember it as a cool line and you move on. But it's such a cool line, and he's such a cool character, that you carry it with you through the show until its eventual repetition.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's a spoiler, and even if it is, it's too fucking late now. I don't think.
Yeah, we've done it now. No, I mean, it doesn't give anything away, really, so it's fine.
I don't know, having not read the books, I don't know if that line is in the books, or whether...
Probably
I would imagine it is. I don't know, but it's a great fucking line, and as I say,
if you've read the books and let us know.
Yeah, do, because I am curious whether that's in the books or whether that's one of Jaina Spencer's. So there are certainly lines in this episode which I'll highlight later on that are absolutely 100% Jaina Spencer's, and
definitely
we'll come to those when we come to them. Next scene, we get a bit of zombie Dany. Eating hearts, looking like something from The Walking Dead.
I love this scene. And the reason I love it is that I remember reading about this before, is that it was a 3-pound gummy bear covered in corn syrup and sugar.
Nice.
So she didn't need to pretend to vomit at the end, because she very almost did.
Wow. I'd have a go at eating a £3 gummy bear, to be fair.
She did. She ate the whole fucking thing, and it was disgusting. It smelled and tasted like bleach, apparently, but she ate the whole thing.
Ew.
And yeah,
Yuck.
yeah. So fair play to her. She did really well, and there's a really nice point as well where she locks eyes with Khal Drogo, and he's got this sort of we've seen it with other characters where, like certainly with Sansa, where she's sort of smitten with people, and it's almost like it's not just the look of that's my wife who's carrying my child. There's a genuine affection there, and he's impressed by how hard she is working to become one of them.
Yes, there is genuine connection between them now, and there's certainly chemistry between the two actors. They're wonderful together. So everything works. And then while all this is going on, and we do have that chemistry between them and that excitement, we've got the little B story to this scene all of its own, which is Viserys being a spiteful little shit, essentially, and forming his scheme.
And it's handled in a way that we've seen before. It's nothing new for this particular storyline where Jorah Mormont is kind of he's Basil Exposition. He's bringing everybody up to speed with what's going on by relaying it to somebody else, much like we had with Sam at the Wall a couple of weeks ago. But it works relatively well. He's sort of explaining the ritual and what it means, and he's sort of saying, telling Viserys what the translation of what the sage woman, witch doctor, whatever the fuck she's supposed to be, what she's saying, and all this stuff is. It's sort of saying, she's saying that there's a great Khal who will, in her belly, who will unite kingdoms, and will be the Khal to end all Khals, and people will tremble in his name, or all that sort of stuff. And this is stuff that Viserys wants to hear about him. He wants to. He's expecting. He's in his head. He is going to rule the world. He is going to be this thing. So for it to be coming from his sister, it's spiteful child. It's hang on, I want that toy.
Yeah,
I don't play with it, but you can't play with it either.
Yeah, his line is along the lines of he won't be a Targaryen, he won't be a true dragon.
Yeah.
Just an absolute spiteful little shit.
Yeah. And then obviously he sees the response that she gets, the fact that people absolutely adore her because all the things that she's been told about her child, and the fact that she has embraced their lifestyle. She's becoming one of them. And he realizes that actually they adore her, whereas they will never adore him, mainly because he's a cunt.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's two.
Yeah, as we see then in the next scene, where he's gonna half-inch the eggs and take his ball and go home.
That's it. And I mean, you see it, and Jorah sort of says, "Oh, today she's a queen." But by the time he's said that line and Viserys doesn't respond, he turns to find he's gone. So straight away then, he leaves, and Viserys is in Dany's beach hut, or whatever the fuck it is, stealing the eggs.
Now,
and
this scene, I love this scene.
Yes.
I love this scene for many, many reasons. One, again, we get one of these excellent little setups that you could run straight over, where Jorah lets us know and lets Viserys know that you should not be walking around Dothrak with your sword out.
Yes.
Because it's gonna get you killed. Yeah. Okay, we know that now. That is information that washes straight over us, but we know it. More importantly, the reason I love this scene, really, and we haven't talked about this hardly at all, because this is the first time we've really got to see him do something. I really fucking love Jorah Mormont. And he's one of my favourite characters throughout the entirety of the show. I think he's used just enough. Like, he can vanish for episodes and episodes, but he's always been doing something, and then he comes back and gives us new information or whatever. But in general, like, we talk about redemption arcs, and there's, we're saying, conversely, we're talking about Theon and what a cunt he is. Jorah starts from this place where he's kind of got to clear his name, even though he's adamant that he's not in the wrong and never has been. Yeah. He's always trying to do better. And that's where his admiration for Dany comes from, I think. And he genuinely believes that if he can latch on to her and protect her, then he will raise himself back to a place of power and of honor. Yeah. And that all makes sense. But he always does it. He's kind of got his own little code, is where I'm going with this. And this scene specifically, like, and I cannot, all I could think watching this scene now, this time out, as I say, I've always liked this character. Watching it now, this time out, with knowledge that I have that he is about to be in season 2 of Titans, I cannot fucking wait to see this man play Batman, because his dialogue in this scene is so fucking Batman right throughout. Like, he is a defender of justice here, and that is his sole purpose. Like, his queen is about to be wronged, and he's not wasting words here like sometimes he does with exposition. You know, he sees Viserys going for the egg.
Yeah, that's right.
And he just says, like, that's not yours.
Yeah.
Like, no fucking around. That's not yours.
Yeah.
Like, put it back.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, I hadn't sort of thought of it in that particular context because I don't tend to think of Batman in every waking moment. But
there's nothing wrong with thinking of Batman. I don't just think of Batman in every waking moment. Just you know, I do it while I'm asleep as well.
Oh dear. But yeah, it was one of those. You said about, you know, he has his. He's aiming for this redemption arc, and everything he does. He has his own code. He's very similar, and given how abhorrent this idea would be to Ned Stark, he's almost like a mirror to Ned.
He is.
Yes. You know, he's for all the story you have across in King's Landing. Ned is kind of the moral compass, and you kind of get that with Jorah as well. That he's okay, maybe starting from a slightly disadvantaged position, but he is always guiding people. He's always like, this is what you need to do because this is the right thing to do. This is how you don't offend people. This is how you honour this, that, and that. He's kind of bringing that same sensibility and that same sentimentality to Daenerys' storyline.
Yes, he is, and it's the way he carries himself as well. As you say, he will attempt to gently guide people. Like, he's never the first person to draw his sword.
No.
He's never the first person to throw a punch. You know, even here, you know, as Viserys is leaving, he just lets him go. He just stops him and says, you can go. You can't have the eggs.
Yeah.
Like, just flat out telling him, like, you can go, but if you want those eggs, you're coming through me.
Yes.
I'm giving you the option. If you decide to come through me, I'm going to fucking hurt you, and I'm going to hurt you bad.
That's it. I mean, knowing full well, I mean, the character, without ever having to see him in a fight, because you never would. You know, he's the sort of person who would pay somebody else to fight for him, as we'll see later on. But he would never raise a sword himself, and if he did, he's got this big shiny sword which looks like it's never been fucking used.
Yeah.
If he drew it before it was even out of the sheath, he'd lose his hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And
before he cried about losing his hand, he'd lose his head.
Yeah. And I think this scene really, again, character genesis. You know, we've spent a bit of time with Jorah, but he's generally been Basil exposition, as you've said.
Yeah.
But this is the scene, I think, where we really get under his skin and where we really learn who he is, and where I definitely jumped on board with him. You know, as I say, you get the slow build, and again, it's down to the tension in the scene and the way it builds. You get the slow build of, you know, those aren't yours. You can go. You can't have the eggs. Telling him to put his sword away and trying to talk him down until it gets to the point where Viserys is in his face and calls him out, and he says, "Does your honor mean nothing to you?" And he responds, "It means everything to me."
Yeah.
And there's his character for you right there, and it's just been revealed to us beautifully and organically in an incredibly tense scene. And at no point has he had to go, as has happened with some of the characters that we now know and love. At no point has he had to go, I am Jorah Mormont, and I am here because I am the son of this, and this is what happened to me, and blah, blah. He hasn't had to do that. It has just been revealed to us organically, and it just works. It absolutely works. This scene is incredible.
It is, and I think the biggest thing for me with this is that, I mean, I said we've had lots of interaction with Jorah Mormont since day one, or since he's been involved from episode one. But he's a peripheral character. He's almost there as a narrator for Dany, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, yeah, he's a person as well.
Yes,
and he's clearly going to do something. He's going to fuck some shit up.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And then all of a sudden you're watching for, I mean, yes, okay, at this point it was revealed last week that he's a spy, so we know that, fine, okay, that's going to presumably play out at some point. And so you say, right, okay, well, I can live with that, I know this, but not only that, you know, he becomes a lot more three-dimensional in this particular scene, and that then carries him, well, right up through the end of the season and onwards.
Yes, definitely. This is a real birthing point for his character, I think. So yeah, moving on. fantastic scene with Tyrion here, just smooth talking Maud. And this is, again, in the right hands with the right dialogue, this cast is phenomenal. And this is Peter Dinklage, like, really just giving us Tyrion at his best here, showing us his absolute strength. Like, he is a smart man with a smart mouth. That is what he does best. And yes, he gets himself into that mouth gets him into some scrapes, but it'll also get him out of it. We see him talking his way here into a trial, essentially. Which, Maud's not a smart man, easy to outwit, but talks himself into a trial. And I've talked about how many good scenes there are in this episode, and earlier on I said about, every scene having a beginning, middle, and end, and there are better examples. And this one now, the trial of Tyrion, is just as good as this show gets. There's no other. This is as good as this show absolutely gets. We get everything in this scene. It does have a beginning, a middle, and end. Everybody has a clear purpose. It has drama. It has humor. It has everything you could possibly want. Tyrion gives us the old false setup straight away. It starts sounding like he's going to confess. Now, interestingly, this, and there are other examples of it in this episode, which we may have skipped over a few already, but I'll point some more out when we go as well. I mentioned last week about how poorly the drama was handled. Now it seems as though, last week's writers didn't even understand drama. And this is drama. Yeah. This is how it works. When the audience know this character and know what he's going to do, and he's wrong-footing us. This is drama. This is how you do that. You give us information and then you lead us down the garden path. This is how you tweak an audience's strings. Like it's masterful, from not just from the writing point of view, but from the performance point of view as well. Like, everything is firing on all cylinders here. You know that he's up to something. You just don't know what it is yet. And then, of course, we get the line about him bringing a honeycomb and a jackass into a brothel.
Yes.
Which is repeated throughout the show several times. This is the first instance I can think of.
This is the first instance, and it's always followed with then what happens? And we never find out. No. And I think that's the last line of the show as well, actually, isn't it?
It is, it is. He's about to tell the joke, isn't he? But
he's about to tell it to the small council.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it literally comes out of nowhere. He's gone down this garden path of confessing all of his sins, and he did this, and then he did that, and when he was a child, he did this to this person and that to that person, and then he runs on to, there was one time I walked into a brothel with a honeycomb and a jackass, and it's just absolutely hilarious. They've had enough, they are about to sentence him, and of course, he calls for trial by combat.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Like, we've not really heard of this happening yet.
No, it's the first time we've had it. So it's introducing something that will come up again and again and again. It's good world building, but advancing the story at the same time.
Yes. And again...
Which, again, we've not had before, and we probably won't have for a while again after.
No, but again, just the structure of this scene, masterful. You think the scene's almost over, and no, actually, here it is. We're going down a completely different direction now. That was just a midpoint. So Tyrion really is fucking smart. He's talked his way into trial by combat, and he's talked his way into getting himself a champion, knowing full well that whoever the Eyrie is going to put forward is going to be a man of honor, and he's going to want to fight honorably. So his champion, of course, Bronn, steps up to the mantle. I've just written "Go Bronn" in my notes.
And I like the way this fight was pulled off. I quite liked as well. I mean, it's always the point where obviously they're all queuing up to fight, to fight his champion, and all of a sudden, whoever it is, they're bound to win because it's for the honour of the Vale and John Arryn and all the rest of it. So clearly they're going to punish the wrongdoers, and it's almost like Bronn says, "Oh, I'll fight for the dwarf, yeah, right, whatever," and you kind of get the impression he doesn't want to, and then later on, during the fight, he's actively ducking the person he's supposed to be fighting.
Yeah, I mean...
And he's getting out of the way. He's throwing obstacles in his way. He's throwing people at him just to get away from him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the fight itself, I think, when we come to it, because I've got a lot to say about the fight.
Right.
And we've just got another little scene in the middle. But yeah, I'm not going to go on about it too much. But like, yeah, the scene structure in this episode is just so on point. Like, and this scene is the best example of that. Beginning, middle, end, boom.
Yeah.
Like, nailing it, absolutely nailing it. And then we're back over to Ned, listening to subjects, sat on the throne, listening to subjects. And it's the first example, I think, of this scene that we've actually seen in the show. That's a mouthful. But this is a scene which is repeated with many rulers throughout the show, where all of a sudden they have to... This is the shorthand for look how difficult it is to be a ruler. And I think this is the first time we've seen it. Now, again, I'm not going to go on about it, but this scene is so well handled. Littlefinger is excellent here, and we talked about how bad his dialogue was last week.
Yeah, I mean, he was properly puppet master in this show this week.
Superb. Again, you give this cast the right stuff. You give them the material, and they can fucking work it. Like, Littlefinger just twisting the knife in Ned and knowing full well what he's doing to Ned, but doing it with a smile on his face and appearing to be his friend. It's absolutely excellent. Whereas,
I mean, Julian Glover is Master Pycelle. You get the impression he can't be fucking bothered. I'm getting paid for this shit, but why am I here?
You really do. You really do. But then Ned makes a very controversial decision.
Although no, it's controversial because of what we've already been told about how much money the throne owes the Lannisters and all that. But it's controversial from that sense. But we've already had in the previous scene where Tyrion is asking where's the king's justice, and that's exactly what Ned is doling out. He's acting as regent while Robert's off hunting, and this is what the king should be doing. This is how the king should deal with this, regardless of what it means, regardless of the fact that it's clearly a message to me. This is what the king should be doing instead of fucking hunting.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It's a great big fucking two-finger salute, and it's egged on by Littlefinger his mad grab for not just any power, but specifically for Ned's power, because he wants Catelyn. And that all comes through in this scene wonderfully. Excellent scene again. But then we're back to the fight. And again, just remember, beginning, middle, end, and drama. Like, Bronn flat out refusing a shield to start with. What a guy. Because
I mean, you see the other guy who's I can't remember his name.
A shield.
Shield, fucking helmet, suit of armor, and Bronn's just there in his fucking leather tabard going,
what a guy,
fine.
What a guy,
fucking hero, man.
So then the fight starts to play, and as you say, Bronn's just ducking and diving, and essentially letting the guy blow himself out. He leads him over to the moon door, and again, this is how you do drama. The moon door is Chekhov's gun here. It opened earlier on in the episode. Someone's got to go through it.
Why they opened it twice? They opened it. Well, in the last scene, she sort of Littler Aaron says, "Open the moon door." So we see it and we get the threat of it. And at the start of this fight, some fucker opens it again. Now, which cunt closed it?
I mean, to be fair, it's a health and safety nightmare. So when you're not around the moon door,
they're all carrying swords. That's a nightmare.
When you're not around the moon door, you need to close the moon door just in case somebody should slip and fall through it.
That serves them right for me so fucking stupid.
I'm sure the Erie Risk Assessment has procedures in place for, exclusion zones around the moon door and all that.
Yeah, it had a parapet around it.
Yeah, it did, but, they're clumsy fuckers. I mean, look, Maud can basically string two words together, so...
Well, he's no great loss for it, is he?
Plus...
If he falls out, there's probably another lobotomized idiot next door.
Yeah, more than like, maybe that's how he got lobotomized in the first place. Maybe it wasn't lobotomy, maybe he just fell through the fucking moon door. Landed on his fucking head. But yeah, look, it's open. At this point, it is Chekhov's gun. Like, it's open, someone's going through it. So,
clearly.
We get to the point where Bronn leads the knight towards it, and you're thinking, he's going to do an old bait and switch, and he's going to turn around and throw the knight down. Ooh, and it goes on for a couple of, what feels like a couple of minutes. In reality, it's just seconds, but that is drama.
It's not that long. The fight itself... that fight scene itself is probably, 90 seconds?
If that. But it feels a lot longer because of the ebb and flow, and as I say, that just the drama of it, the choreography is great. Obviously the structure of the scene itself and the way it's been written is great. And just, Bronn, just his plan is flawless and perfectly executed. He wears the guy down, waits for him to make a mistake, and then it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's I'm gonna take the back of the knee, and I'm gonna take a nick around the elbow, and I fucking love a good rogue. I really do. I mean, who doesn't? So his plan is flawless. He wins the fight, and then again, just dialogue in this episode, superb. She says to him, "You don't fight with honor," and he just smirks and responds, "No, but he did."
Yeah.
Just
and again,
wonderful.
I mean, the thing as well. I mean, you look at sort of the fight itself. He was already dead. There's no reason to chuck him out the door, apart from the fact the door's there and it's open. So why the fuck not?
Yeah,
he could have quite left him bleeding on the floor,
just for funsies at that point, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, just for shits and giggles. And it's like, well. And to the point, said, you don't fight with honor. I said, yeah, well, he did. And look where that got him.
Yeah, totally. So, loved this scene. Loved the dialogue. Loved the drama. Loved the fight itself. Really well choreographed. Loved everything about it.
I mean, to be fair, we talked about some of the cast in the last couple of episodes and how well they do. I can't think, and I'm sure there will be one or two, and as we go through the show, we'll pick them out. But I can't think of a bad performance by Jerome Flynn.
No, me either. Not in this show, anyway.
No, specifically in this show.
You want to talk about Soldier, then maybe that's a whole nother podcast.
Maybe not. But yeah, I don't think he turns in a bad effort as Bronn in any episode.
No,
because he gets the character absolutely spot on.
He does, and just again, nice little moment from Tyrion as he's walking towards the door. Then nice little callback. Lannister always pays his debts, so just tosses the bag of coins at Maud.
And to be fair, full well that he could have completely walked out and with Maud going, "Where's my gold? What gold? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And nobody would have thought anything of it.
And Lannister always pays his debts.
Well, that's it.
So throws it to him. Now, the next scene. Okay, so I don't do research very often. But I have just stumbled across a whole lot of bile for this scene on the internet, which is interesting because I like it a lot.
Right, okay.
So it's a Sansa scene. And most of the bile that I've seen seems to be that Sansa's acting slightly out of character in this scene for where she is at the moment.
Not really. I mean, she's always been a bratty teen.
Yeah, and I think the difference here is she's a bratty teen being written by somebody that really fucking knows how to write a bratty teen and spent, 4-5 years doing it on the best show to do that on. There is dialogue coming out of Sansa in this scene that is just flat out Buffy Summers. There's no two ways about it. She's got a fucking smart mouth on her here, which we've not seen before, and I fucking love it. It's excellent. Sophie Turner's still not the best actress at this point in time.
At this point, let's give her credit. She's about 13 at this point. She's growing into it, and I think that. I mean, I like the first part of the scene, so where it's her and the Scepter, and they're having this exchange, and she's just an absolute bitch.
Yes, but she's funny about it. I mean,
but she is funny. Do you even have hair under there?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from. I don't care.
Exactly that line, and it. That literally is a Buffy Summers line. Even the delivery of it, it's almost like somebody coached her phonetically. Like, where are you from? Oh, I just realised. I don't care. It's so funny. And if she was that funny on the reg, I would probably like her a lot more in these early seasons. But she's not. Yeah. She's generally just a whiny little mopey brat.
And I mean, I think we only get one more scene with her in this episode.
In which she's awful.
In which she goes back to being fucking emo.
And again, Sophie Turner's performance is shown up to be especially bad there because Maisie Williams is so fucking good. We'll talk about her in that scene.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. I love that scene.
But then we get this this moment with Joffrey as well. And it's odd. It is odd, but the prose is beautifully written, and actually he makes a good fist of delivering it as well. Like, if I didn't know what was coming,
Yeah.
I'd almost like him here, and I genuinely believe he means it in this scene as well.
Well, this is it. I mean, up until this point, we've not really seen much of him, and obviously there's a bit of backstory to this, whereby Cersei has told no, she's told him what to say, she's told him what to get her a present, go and tell her how sorry you are for everything, and he does that, and having ignored her for the best part of 3 weeks. You get this, and he's penitent, he's remorseful, and all of a sudden, I will never be cruel to you again. I will never ignore you again. And it's almost like, again, it's like teenage relationships where everything is the end of the fucking world.
Yeah.
And your troubles are the most important thing, and they'll know you. If you don't get over them, you'll die. And they, at this point, they do just play like a teenage couple who've had a tiff.
Yeah, and not for nothing. Like I say, I've stumbled inadvertently into a whole lot of hate for this scene because of that.
That'll teach you to do research.
Yeah, but like, not for nothing, like, this was Jane Spencer's bread and butter, like I say, for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And it shows. Like, this is excellent. Like, the dialogue's excellent. Their performances. Sophie Turner's the best she's been so far in the show. Like I say, I almost like Joffrey here. Like, if you want to write teens, then she's your gal. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's difficult, obviously, rewatching and knowing what is going to happen with these characters.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But not knowing who he's going to become.
Yeah, it's almost as if you go, okay, well, the first couple of episodes where he's trying to be all smooth and debonair, and he just makes a bit of tit of himself because he's fucking 5. And he doesn't know how to be smooth. He doesn't know how to talk to a woman he's supposed to be wooing and all the rest. So I get that, and that comes across quite well. And then we don't see him for a couple of weeks. He does nothing for 3 weeks, and then he comes in, and all of a sudden it's like he's trying to pick up where he left off, but actually he's going, you know what? I'll dial it back a bit because I'm not fucking Disco Stew trying to get laid in the 70s. And he there's a bit of work there, and he almost dials it back to an extent, and he comes across as almost human.
Yeah, he does. It's and again, it's played for and got. The way the scene is framed and everything, like, it's clearly meant to be a kind of Romeo and Juliet young lovers scene, and it
is, and even to the shooting of it, where they have their first kiss, and it's sort of backlit by the sun, by the sun going past the window. It's beautifully done.
Yeah, it is, and look, as I said earlier on, I'm biased here, and this is certainly the most praise you'll ever hear me heap on a single episode, but I genuinely think there's nothing bad here. Like, I do.
But I think that, like, generally the aesthetic has always been all right. Okay, there were a couple of instances last week where landscapes were shit.
Yeah.
But generally it's shot pretty well.
Yeah.
So, and this episode is no exception. I think the difference is that it's so easy to follow the writing because it's the character progression seems natural, the dialogue seems natural, and it just doesn't pull you out quite as much.
It's just a tighter written show here. It's written professionally here. I'm sorry, but there you go. Jane Spencer is adhering to the rules of screenwriting, and there's a reason. There's a reason those rules exist, and if you want to break them, then you have to be very clever in setting them up first in order to break them. This show's never done that. It just pisses all over them with gay abandon. Anyway, moving on. We get another scene with Roz.
Yes.
She's fucking brilliant here. She was crap last week. She's great here. She's just like, she's a businesswoman and she's done, so she's moving on. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah. And again, I like the scene mainly because it makes Theon look useless. But again, he sort of tries to intercept them, and they don't even stop. Normally you'd have this scene where the coach she's on, the cart she's on, would stop, and they'd have a conversation, and then she'd leave at the end of it. She carries on right. They're like, fuck this, I'm going.
Done. Yeah, she's a businesswoman. Yeah. She's made of money. She's fully in control of the scene, just as she has been in the other scenes as well. But she fully is here. Like, she's on her way. She's done with all of this shit. She is moving on. And, there's just something really endearing about her as a character, especially in this show where, whores are constantly put upon. You constantly hear, the whore house, stupid whore this, whore that. They really are they're seen as an underclass, really.
Yeah.
But she's flying the flag here, like a kind of almost like a Texas whore, if you like, where like she's the mom here, and this is her business. So
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
And
Yeah. So I take cocks for a living. So what? It makes me money.
So what? I'm good at it. It makes me money. And no, what else am I going to do? Marry you and be nobody.
Yeah.
And again, and it just constantly puts him down. It's he said no. People like you were 10 a penny down in King's Land. All these love company then. And what? No. Why are you going? Well, what am I going to do if I stay here? Marry you and become Lady Greyjoy?
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? And it's again, it's just constant that I'm in control of this. So whatever this you think it is, be you think in a relationship or whatever else, I am in control of it, not you. You might be paying for it,
yeah.
But when I say it ends, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm done. I'm going. I don't care what you think.
It's great.
And then,
short little scene, but it's great.
Yeah, and the way it ends, he says, "Oh, can I see it again?" Flicks her a coin, which is the best fucking shot you'll ever see because he's not moving and her card is. So he judged it absolutely perfectly. She catches this piece of gold, hitches the skirt up, spreads her legs, gives him a smile, pulls the skirt over, and off he goes. And he says, "I'm going to miss you." And her rebuttal, "I know you will." And off she fucks. And he's there. Look, and he looks like he's pining like a lost fucking puppy.
This is one of the best representations of women in this entire show. And I'm willing to say we've not got far yet, but I'm willing to say it's going to be one of the best representations of women in the whole run of the show. And you know why? Because she's a fucking character all of a sudden. She's a person and she has needs and wants, and she needs and wants to get out of there and make more money. She's done. She's moving on. Fuck Theon Greyjoy. She's not there just to serve Theon's story.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a little scene, but it says so much. And it really does feel... It's a shame that it's only for one episode, but it really does feel like a shift in attitudes in the show. Anyway, moving on, for lest I gush even more about that, we get to the scene with Arya and Sansa and Ned. Like, I swear, okay, I promise, this is the last time I'm going to go on about how great Jane Spencer is, but the dialogue here, I was howling at this scene. Arya, straight out, are you dying because of your leg? It's so stupid and so childlike, but it's what a little girl would say.
Well, that's it. And then you get the bit later on where Ned says, "Oh, when you're older, I'll find you a suitable match." And all this. And Sansa, you can't. I love him. I'm going to have his babies. And Arya says, 7 hells. You know full well if she was older, she said, "Fuck me."
And again, just. Don't get me wrong. Maisie Williams' performance really shows Sophie Turner up here, and that's not a slight on Sophie Turner. She's still young. She will come to be an incredible actress and we'll see her grow into this role over the course of the show. But she just doesn't quite have the knack that Maisie Williams does instantly. She doesn't have that instant chemistry. But again, that line is straight out of the Buffy playbook. I'm meant to be his queen and have his babies. That is a total Buffy line, and she manages to nail that one. Like, it's great. Just they should, honestly, if nothing else, they should have just brought Jane Spencer in to write these girls, because they're great. They're great under her pen. They really are.
Although, to be fair, I mean, most people in this episode are great because of the way she's written them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, everybody is a character here for a change. Look, now we're on to the worst bit, okay? There is some stupid shit in this episode, and there is possibly the stupidest shit of the show so far.
Yep.
And on all fronts, I'm gonna point a finger at the writing here as well. So we get fucking Sherlock Stark doing some sleuthing, reading his nice big book.
Yeah.
And he reads out loud the Baratheon line, and so-and-so Baratheon, black of hair. So-and-so Baratheon, black of hair. Joffrey Baratheon, blonde of hair. Like, really? Are you that fucking stupid, Ned, that you had to read a book to realise he's the Milkman's? Like, what?
But I'm not being funny. The whole thing with John Aaron, his last words, "the seed is strong." That could mean could mean one of many things. But okay, down the Baratheon line, they have good genes for dark hair, fantastic. But the Lannisters are all fucking yellow-haired shits, as he called them earlier on. So they're all very blonde. at some point there has to be a dominant gene.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be the father's.
No.
It's quite plausible that a father with dark hair and a mother with blonde hair would have a blonde child. Or 3.
Yeah.
But, it's plausible. So for that to be the entire basis of, oh, well, fucking hell.
I mean, look.
He can't be his son because he's got the wrong colour hair. Well, fuck me.
The trope is dumb. The performance is dumb. The writing is dumb. Like, what happened to Show Don't Tell? Why does Ned have to read that book out loud? And why, especially under Jana Spencer's pen, and it has been done twice that we've called out already in this episode, why couldn't this just been done with a subtle throwaway line? Like, this is not difficult information to grasp. Like, somebody just needed to throw it out to Ned that, why is he blonde? Not, fuck's sake. Like, what a stupid scene. And honestly, Sean's Bean performance, it's fucking... He's channeling Joey Tribbiani in this scene.
Oh, it's proper smell of art acting. It really is.
It really is, isn't it? Like, one thing I've learned through season 1 of this show is generally Sean Bean is fucking excellent, and you give him some good subtext to play with as well, as we've seen like in the scenes where he's watching Arya and delivering some lines of dialogue where it almost feels like he knows where the show's going. He's excellent. But never, ever, ever ask him to act surprised. Just because it's going to go badly wrong for you. Simple. Like, he cannot do it. It is impossible. Like, they'd
have been better off filming his reaction whereby he turns the page and there's a cock on it or something.
Like...
Or something he's not expecting, because, I mean, when he's trying, he really gets it wrong. Oh, my God.
Like, it literally is the smell, the fart. Like, he even does the fucking head turn to a jaunty angle. And
yeah.
Oh, it's dumb. This whole scene is just dumb, and has no place in this episode whatsoever. I'm just speechless at how bad it is.
But, I mean, the only thing I'm going to say in her defence with the writing is that she's only co-credited with the writing. It's the showrunners are also credited, so maybe that was one of their scenes.
Well, more likely, I don't think they so much did the writing as said this, and this needs to happen. Maybe this is one of those things that needed to happen, but I just think
I don't know. I mean, if it needed to happen, it needed to happen better.
Just look. Fucking at the end of the scene with Sansa, she could have said something like, "We're going to have beautiful blonde babies."
Well, that's more or less what she said. And if you left her at that,
and then let him piece it together.
Yeah. To be fair, even if you left it with that line of dialogue and him smelling the fart, and then you move on,
or he hasn't done anything for a while, I know, but just do it. Just give Gendry something to do, and just cut to him doing anything you like. Just hammer in a fucking thing. That's all. And Ned goes up and takes a look at him, and then close up of his fucking sweaty black hair as he wipes his hand along his brow. Job done.
Yeah.
That'll be $10 million, please, showrunners. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit too late because they've kind of done it now.
Also, I'm not as good a writer as Jana Spencer, so hey ho.
To be fair, nobody is. Very few people out there. There are a couple.
Okay, moving on. Tits. We have tits.
Oh, yeah. Always good.
Finally. No tits this episode yet, but we get tits. I mean, Roz gave us a full frontal earlier on, but no tits.
Whenever her knee was in the way.
So apparently, whenever there's any kind of...
Goddamn HD made me see that.
Whenever there's any kind of celebration in Dothrak, there needs to be tits.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
This is just a thing. They get their tits out. And then we get Viserys showing up with his sword. Instantly, as soon as you see him walk in wearing it, that scene earlier on just drops into place. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is good writing. We already have this information. We know that he shouldn't be walking in there with his sword on. He
cannot carry a sword in the city. End of.
It was beautifully set up earlier. This ep just really is so well written. That's my notes there. It just says this is so well written. Like the bar is raised so much higher here than everything that's gone before it. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable how tight this is. So he just makes a general dick of himself, really. Proceeds to threaten Danny's unborn child, which is just not cool.
It's not cool, but also knowing, and you can see it, you can hear it, because they're 3 feet away. Somebody is translating to Khal Drogo.
Yes.
So you're saying, he can keep the baby, I'll cut it out of you. And, in Drogo's ear, and you know full well he knows exactly what's going on. Now, bear in mind what I said earlier on, the fact there's an affection between Drogo and Dany at this point, where they have come to love, admire, respect, whatever the fuck it is. Now, there is a connection between them, and that's his child he's threatening. What did he think was going to happen?
Yeah, well, yeah, and again, like great performance, to be fair as well, but again, great use of drama here. Like, he lays out his terms and seemingly gets them accepted and is happy for a split second. But we as an audience know that this is not going to end well for him. He's wearing his sword, which is a no-no. He's threatening the Khal's unborn son, which is a no-no. You know, And
he's generally throwing his weight around like a twat.
Exactly. So...
And I mean, again, we've talked about Theon in the last couple of episodes, whereby nobody takes him seriously, nobody respects him. All the time you've had, he's throwing around the dragon, the Targaryen dynasty, this, that, and the other, and he says, "Oh, that's no place to a king," or "That's no way to talk to a king." And Drogo, in the only English you ever hear him say, apart from one more line, says, "You're no king." And again, it's that no. Viserys saying, nobody will love him the way they love Daenerys. Nobody will respect him. Even the people he's paid to like him can't fucking stand him. And it's, for me, it's a nice parallel with Theon and the way he's handled. And it just moves on from there.
Although, creepy little dickwad that Viserys is, still not as much of a cock as Theon.
No, true. But Theon has more time to practice, as we'll find out in a second with Viserys.
Viserys meets his untimely end, really, at Drogo's hand. Now, I do have just one issue with this.
Go on. I probably have the same one.
Gold does not melt that quickly. Unless those are fucking chocolate coins. Like, that is the quickest melting gold I have ever seen in my life.
It's artistic license, and also the fact that they haven't got 4 days for it to melt.
I know.
But so I mean, you're right. That was my thing as well. And obviously, you happen to have all this gold on him. You could just chuck in a pot and let it melt. So then they get this caramel-looking shit running out, which boils his head, solidifies within half a second. Which again, Fellowship of Molten Metal doesn't do that. And then he collapses, and there's a massive thud as the solid gold hits the floor, which is my favourite death scene in this entire fucking show.
Yeah, also, prior to rewatching, it is one of the main images that I had in my head. I remember this from first time out because it is so fucking... obviously, we were expecting him to die. I expected him to die the second he showed up with his sword on because we had that information. I just didn't expect it to be so creative. And...
No, I mean, I sort of expected, if anything, that while he's having his exchange with Drogo, they grab him from behind, take him outside, and you never see him again, and we're told he's dead, or we see his head on a spike or something later on. I wasn't expecting to actually see that. Now, the other part of this scene I absolutely loved, and again, it goes against everybody saying, Daenerys was never callous, she was never evil, she never interested in death. See her watch her staring at her brother being murdered.
Not only that, and it's, as I say, beautiful callback to the information we got earlier on that you didn't realise was important at the time. Her reaction, she simply stares at him and says, "He's no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon."
Yeah, because he burns. Yeah. But she's there, steely-eyed. Jorah tells her to look away. She said, no. Yeah. He's got this coming. I'm going to fucking see it. And I said 2 weeks ago, because I wasn't in last week's episode, he's not fit to lead an army. And this is me making sure, because I could have stopped this. I could have convinced Khal to just imprison him or whatever else. But no, I want him dead because he is not going to do to the world what he thinks he's going to, because he's a shit. And she's there fucking steely-eyed, and we've seen bits of her strength coming through, but this is the first time we see her actually being callous and calculating and genuinely fucking terrifying.
Yeah. And remember all of this because, okay, inventive death, as I said, it's so much so that it's an image that stayed with me, and also a meaningful and impactful death because it helps set Daenerys on her journey, and his death means something. It is something that needs to happen for the story, and it's something that causes a character to grow and evolve. That is not something that happens very often in this show, and it is one of the things you'll hear me complain about the most as we move forward now. This is how it should be done. Sadly, this is not how it is usually done. But for what it is, this death is excellent.
Yes.
Best of the show so far. If not, as you say, best of the show, period.
For me, it's my favourite. I mean, it's not the most memorable. I mean, you ask people who have watched it once.
I would go to it, definitely. I've remembered this all the way through.
But I mean, if you think of the most memorable, there are others. If you took somebody who'd watched it once and was at the end of season 8, this isn't the one they go back to. Even from season 1, this probably isn't the one they'd go back to.
No, probably not.
But there you go. That's just us. We're strange.
I mean, I have bias, as I say. I mean, in summation, like my notes, which to be fair, I've used the notes as reference to go through for the scenes this week, but generally, I've enjoyed them so much that they're still very fresh in my mind, so I haven't needed so much to pick out these things written down. But just my summation here is literally just what an episode! ! It is the best to date and is going to take some beating moving forward. I mean, it's beautifully paced, it's expertly written, it's full of character work. I mean, it has the best dialogue, bar none. Like, this is so far ahead of the previous 5 episodes. It is untrue, honestly. This feels like it's been, and it's not just the writing. Like I said, the writing is the cornerstone of everything. I'm a firm believer in that and always have been. But because the writing is elevated, it feels like everyone else is elevated as well. This feels like a creative team that really understand the characters that they're working with, and they understand where the story's going. And
I think it's the first time that we've had this director as well, Daniel Minahan. I think it's the first one he's done, and he goes on to many, I believe. You get the feeling that he's got a slightly different take on what's been written and what's been put in front of him. And obviously when you've got showrunners on an arc, you can't put too much of a stamp on it because they just won't have you back. But you get the impression he understood more than other people what the characters were about and where they were going.
Yes, definitely. As I say, this whole creative team here feels like they know these characters and know this story, and I think that's kind of the first time that this has happened,
Definitely.
This is the series highlight for me so far. And when we get to the end of season 1, we'll do a quick look back perhaps at everything, and I don't see how this is going to get topped. Personally.
No. That said, we may have missed where it falls in the episode. I can't remember exactly where it falls, but there's an absolutely fucking horrendous scene out in the woods with Robert, Renly, Lancel, and Brass and Salmi, where Robert is basically talking about fucking, I don't know, are they supposed to be particularly wild or what? But Riverlands girls, and there was what would seem to be a sex version of a drinking game called Making the Eight, whereby instead of drinking yourself across the top shelf, you've got to fuck somebody from every kingdom. And Renly calls him on how boorish and how inappropriate and how pointless it is, and how Robert's sort of harking back to these sort of glory days, as people tend to do, that, back in the day this was better, that was better, in my day I did this, we did that because it was better than now is shit. And Renly flat out calls him on it.
Yeah.
And then has a bit of a hissy fit and walks off. Up until that point, I was on board with Renly, and then he kind of just went a bit girly about it, went, oh, fuck this, and flounced off.
But the scene itself, I haven't actually written anything about it. It's not one that stuck in my mind, actually, because you say it doesn't add that much. Other than the one thing I did take from it, who's the Lannister? Is it Lancel? Yeah, Lancel. The one thing I did take was actually how good a page boy or whatever it is that he's supposed to be, how good at it he is, because he can see that the king is irate and dives straight in there without even asking. He is straight in.
He can. And I mean, that's on the back of, I think, 3 episodes he's been in where he's basically abused for being shit at his job.
It sounds bad because he's been abusing it. This is a character now that's learning. He's like, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so there's that. So there's character development there. And there's also, as much as perhaps Renly doesn't come off well in the scene, again, the scene itself, the way it's played out, is another with a very strong beginning, middle, and end, albeit one that's being narrated initially by Robert, and then we get the back and forth between the two of them, and it builds to a climax. They have their argument, it builds to a climax, and off storms Renly. It, again, technically is a perfectly fine scene. It just doesn't really add anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had 2 issues with it. One was, I say, Renly flouncing off, and the other was Lancel asks Robert if he wants more wine. He gives him it's a carafe or some sort of fucking thing. It is very clearly, both visually and hourly, it's made of fucking plastic. When he slaps it into his chest, you hear it bending.
I missed that.
It's fucking horrendous.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch that because you all know how much I love the wax fruit.
It was awful.
I'll go back and watch that. I totally missed that.
It's clearly a plastic bottle. I was like, for fuck's sake.
But I mean, there are, as I say, there are some dumb things. That scene's not particularly good, but as I say, I think it holds together. It's not particularly good. Ned smelling the fart is probably, as much as this episode is the highlight, I genuinely think Ned smelling the fart is the low light of the show for me so far. It
definitely
is face palm bad. It's horrendous, and I refuse to believe there wasn't a more elegant way to sort that out. I suspect...
No, there must have been somewhere.
Again, never read it, so don't know, but I suspect this is one of those things where it's, but that's how it happens in the book. Well, maybe it is, but showing a character reading a book out loud is not very visually fucking interesting, is it? So do better, everyone, please.
Again, it's not as if he's reading it to anybody else. And now, when I pick up a book or a newspaper or anything else, if I'm on my own and I'm reading it, unless I'm specifically picking up to read it aloud to somebody else, I keep my fucking mouth shut.
Yeah. So, that's dumb. Real dumb. But this episode is so fucking good that I'll just forget about that. To be honest, I'll just give it a pass. This episode is... Because it is relatively inconsequential. It's fucking superb. This is the highlight for me. And, look... If you disagree, as I've seen many fucking people on the internet do, because of course they do. It's the internet. Come at me, bro. I'm okay to debate this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please do. I'm interested to hear everybody's views. Some of the stuff I've read, as I say, I totally disagree with. Most of it seems to be towards the way the girls are handled, which is nuts because they've never been this good.
To be fair, they're the best part of this episode.
Absolutely. I don't know. I quite like Tyrion and Bronn as well.
I'd still stand by that though.
But the way the girls are written here is way better than anything that's gone before. So please enlighten me as to why it's bad.
Yeah, and I mean we'll talk in the next couple of weeks about sort of the rest of the season, and there's some highlights and there's some interesting bits, but generally, I say for this season, I think this is the best episode. I think this is definitely the peak, and in terms of the story, things will happen more rapidly in the next couple of weeks and things will escalate. But in terms of the performance, the delivery, I think this is probably the one for me.
Oh, it definitely is for me. Definitely. But I mean, let's see where the next 4 take us. I'm sure there's loads of shit I've forgotten about.
That's right.
So, let's see.
Yeah, there's bound to be.
That's it for me. I've got no more to say other than I think I've gushed about this enough now for the last hour and change. I'm sorry if you were tuning in expecting to hear me effing and jeffing and complaining about this show as I regularly do. But this was a really fucking good episode. So look, praise where it's due. I'm not just going to rag on something for the sake of it. This was excellent and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And there was no part of rewatching this episode that felt like a chore. You know, sometimes some of the scenes that have gone previously, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't care. Like, move on. There was none of that here. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It flew by. It was a very nippy 50-odd minutes in what was actually a really busy week for me as well. And I really fucking enjoyed it. Yeah, I really did. So
yeah. And again, there's a bit more focus this again than we've had in previous. The last week was obviously entirely focused on the Lancers and Starks. This week you did jump back and forth to Dothrak. Still nothing of the Wall. Very little in Winterfell. A bit, but not much.
Winter's still not coming.
We haven't mentioned the White Walkers, which is good. We've introduced the Wildlings. We've introduced Mance Ryder, whatever the fuck he's called. We've introduced him as a persistent threat, as will become. We'll hear more about him over the next couple of seasons until we meet him. And yeah, it's done. There's some good work that's been done, not only reiterating what's been done before it, but sort of setting up what's going to come after it as well, and the rest of the season. So yeah, I liked it. I mean, the last two we've sort of said have been a bit of a slog, have been a bit slow. Well, maybe the last three. This round of 53 minutes is slightly shorter than the others, but I got a lot more out of those 53 minutes than I have the previous 120.
There's very little fat in those 53 minutes, other than, as you say, maybe that scene with Renly and Ned smelling fart, like, which probably accounts for those 3 minutes. You could have come in at 50, but other than that, well, no, you couldn't. You need the scene with Ned smelling the fart. I just think it could have been handled better. So. Yeah,
it could have been done better. And yeah, you've got to fit advertising and sponsors and shit, so you need a certain amount of airtime, don't you? But yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else to say in this episode. Obviously, as always, if you want to talk to us about it, you want to come at us and say we're wrong, have at it. You can find us on Facebook, we're Double Down Podcast Network. You can find us on Twitter at ddpodcastnet. You can go to our website, ddpodcast.net, where you can find our previous episodes, you can find our other shows. Get in touch, let us know what you think.
Tell us nice things as well. Don't just tell us we're wrong. You can agree with us. That's allowed too.
It doesn't happen as often, but we just like the fact that people are listening. So if you want to come at us, then so be it. Just proves that somebody out there cares. But yeah, that's it for me. A good week, and next time out we're on probably the best title of an episode in this season: "You Win or You Die."
Nice,
which kind of sets things up quite nicely. So yeah, until next time.
Game over.